What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for yet another Tottenham update. We're going to go into the last 24 hours of Tottenham news. But before we get into that, let's show our sponsors. Stocks FC, some love, people. Buy and sell football player stocks. And yeah, look, obviously it's not anything to earn a second wage off, but it's something to have a little bit of fun where you can win some money. So don't put your life savings into it, just a bit of disposable income for a bit of fun.
Use your football knowledge to win some money.
Exactly.
That's the reality.
And build a portfolio of your favourite players and earn weekly, monthly prizes as well as end of season prizes with Team of the Year and everything like that. So performance related bonuses. And 2 IPOs that have caught our eye this week that we've invested in, and that is one of our own, and that is Jed Spence. He's currently going through an IPO, and there's still some stocks left if you want to get yourselves involved in Jed Spence. Another one is Omar Mamouche, but unfortunately you've missed the boat to get into on Omar Mamouche.
All his stocks have gone.
Has sold out, but definitely getting on Jed Spence.
Definitely. He's in great form. He could potentially, with England call up on the horizon, maybe his stocks will go through the roof. And I think people have been getting their stocks in Jed Spence for a while, so it's now time for people to put money where their mouth is.
Exactly. So yeah, another player that we've recently invested is our goalkeeper Vicario. We expect that he could be going up over the next couple of weeks or months. So yeah, our portfolio is building up nicely. We've got 16 players in our portfolio, and also we've got an email from Stocks. They say a huge new player is coming to the market, and they are announcing it at 7:05 on Sunday on their YouTube channel. So watch out for that, because I wonder who it could be, because you look like Omar Mamouche, who you think is going to be a good big player on the market, right? And they just released him, but they're making some sort of big deal out of this, so it could be someone massive.
Get your predictions in.
But that is Stocks FC. Go show them some love, people. Link in the description below. QR code on screen. If you use our link to sign up, you get 5 free loan players as well, where once the loan duration is over, you get to keep the profits that player has made. But go show them some love. Stocks FC. And let's get into the update. And first up, we're going to be talking about a report in the Milan press saying that AC Milan are targeting former Tottenham managing director Fabio Paratici. Paratici is one of the candidates for the Milan role when his disqualification period comes to an end starting in July 2025. Keep your grubby hands on our Fabio, man. Fabio, Don Paratici to you.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any truth to AC Milan wanting him. I do think they need him, because I think they probably need a boost in recruitment, and I'm sure we know how highly thought of he is thought of in Italy, especially, and definitely around Europe.
Say that they need a helping hand in recruitment. I mean, they just brought in Emerson, who's one of Fabio's guys.
He's been brought in to sell him, I think. That's why. Then he's done his job. Obviously with Lang here now, I think whether there's a conflict of interest, whether they're stepping on each other's toes, there's been reports that, Lang wasn't too happy with Fabio in some cases. So it, I guess, depends on what the club want to do. Do they want to keep Lang on? There's a lot of people who are not happy with the job Lang's doing. I don't know if the club see it that way or if it's just fans seeing it that way. But obviously Fabio did a good job when he was sporting director at Spurs, and always on the phone, always looking to get deals done. And unfortunately the ban, when it was implemented, stopped him doing that great work, which is why Lang is here. But now his ban is ending. Do we reinstate him? I don't know what the state of play is. If we don't reinstate him, will he feel like, I have more control, I have more say if I go over to a Milan or something like that? I'd probably like to keep him. I like Fabio. I think he's a good sporting director, and he's one who gets deals done and he gets things moving. And there's never a quiet period with Paratici. He's the opposite of Johan Lang, the opposite side of the spectrum. But I have a feeling, do Spurs, the hierarchy that we have, would they prefer Lang, who prefers to work in the shadows and does everything underhanded, rather than someone who likes to play a lot of things out in public like Fabio? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of that aspect alone, they probably would prefer Johan Lang. But I feel like when you're looking at the two guys alongside each other, Fabio has just got so many different contacts in the game at various different clubs, particularly his Italian connections. I feel like he's just got more of a bit of a bigger pull than someone like Johan Lang.
I agree, and I think he's got so much recognition in Europe as well. Fabio Paratici. I think it'll be a waste if we let someone of his ability, in the transfer market leave us and go to someone like AC Milan. But unfortunately, the ban, he did get kind of screwed a lot of things up. So I don't know what the state of play is at the moment.
Do you feel like it could be a case where Johan Lang stays on like kind of youth recruitment and Fabio Paratici takes like the first team recruitment?
I'll definitely take it.
Because I think from that aspect, Johan's actually done a good job in kind of like recruiting youth players to come to the club.
Would Tel have said no originally if Fabio was at the helm?
Definitely not. Definitely not. And I think Fabio did a very good job. I know Fabio brought in some good young players himself, like Pape Sarr and stuff like that. But like, he was the one that convinced Cuti Romero to come. Is that right? Like, who's convincing Cuti Romero to come in like the Nuno era? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. But also, Milan are a massive club in their own right, and also they want to probably get back to where they think they belong, near the top of Serie A and challenging for big things, and they probably can sell that to Fabio. I wouldn't be surprised if he looks at and thinks there's a really good opportunity there as well, especially if they're like certain about the amount of control he can have, whereas right now with Tottenham is a bit uncertainty there right now. So I think there is a chance this might be true, to be honest, but I hope we can keep him on.
Yeah, let's hope so. Next up, we're going to talk about Jobe Bellingham, as Football League World says that Tottenham are keen on signing Sunderland midfielder Jobe Bellingham this summer. Sunderland are pushing for promotion and could be open to selling him if they fall short and fail to return to the top flight.
Yeah, they're doing well this season, Sunderland. Really looking to get back in the Premier League game, giving it a big old push, I think, this season. And Jobe is at the heart of that. And we know how good his brother is. I think that's obviously... Do you reckon if his name wasn't Bellingham, there'd be all this talk?
I think there'll be less talk, but I still think there would be talk because in his own right, he's doing very well this season.
He's doing well, but I feel like would there be all this talk about big clubs after him if his brother wasn't Jude? I feel like there's a big aspect to that. But he is doing well, and you got to give him credit. And I think Tottenham are looking for these young English talents, and Jobe definitely falls into that category. But we do have, some other young players in that position. We've got Bergvall, got Gray there, so adding Bellingham to it, I don't know if that's the right move right now. But I think when you got that kind of talent there, you have to look at him. But yeah. I don't know if he's a player we would want in our first team next season.
Yeah, I mean, 19 years of age, doing very well in the Championship. He is one of the better players in the Championship this season, in the Sunderland team that are doing very well. So I think he does have a very bright future. I think, is he going to have as bright of a future as his brother? I think that definitely remains to be seen, but I definitely think he's got a bright future ahead of him. So I'll be open to bring him into the club, but only if it's alongside like players that can come in right now and make a real impact.
Yeah, we kind of at one point got to pick a lane because we keep saying these things. I'd happy for another 19-year-old to come in as long as he's more experienced, but then where are these players going to get games? You know what I mean? If we keep bringing them alongside experience. So we've got two really good young midfielders now. I think we should, if we want to give them opportunities, then I don't know how many more young midfielders alongside that we can keep signing.
Yeah, but then again, like in a couple of years' time, if he turns into like what many people think he can be, we're just going to be sitting there being like, oh, for God's sake, we could have signed him a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we'll be saying he's good, but he ain't Bergvall.
Next up, we're going to talk about Tyler Dibling, as a report that says Tottenham are expected to make and try and conclude a move for Tyler Dibling this summer. Spurs did explore the Dibling move in January before being told that the Saints were not willing to sell despite his refusal to sign a new deal. I do think this is one that is going to pick up quite heavily in the summer.
For sure.
Another youngster.
I don't see him remaining at Southampton. He's going to sign for someone, especially if they get relegated. I think he's such a great potential talent. I think in terms of our wingers, you're right. We've already got Moore, we've got Odegaard. So I think the difference with Dibling is his physical profile is a lot more than someone like right now I'm talking about than a Moore or Odegaard in terms of his strength, his ability to hold players off. He seems to be really able to do that at a young age compared to like Odegaard and Moore, where clearly a lot of potential, but in terms of their upper body strength, did they get muscled off the ball a bit too often, those kind of things. I think Dibling's a different kind of case, but you're right, he's another 18, maybe 19-year-old who's
just
played in the Premier League and to a good effect. I really like him. I think he's got really high potential. But again, he's going to take a few years probably to reach his absolute, peak potential. And do we have time to wait for another teenager to bed in when we've already got Moore and Odegaard there?
Yeah. I read a report that that said Tottenham are planning an onslaught of the Premier League in 26 to 27.
Come on.
In that year. So sign up all the 19-year-olds. By then they'll be 21, 22, and we'll be the best team in the land.
There'll be no stopping us.
Exactly. Another one that we've been linked with today is Moise Kean. I have seen reports over the past month or so, but having a stunning season out in Fiorentina this year. He's open to a Premier League return. Arsenal, Villa and Tottenham all interested. Would you be open to bringing Moise Kean?
Yeah, I like Moise Kean. I think he's another player who I think in terms of his trajectory, if Ange is still here, Ange will definitely like the way he's kind of battled his way from he was at Everton, PSG, Juventus. He's been at some big clubs and not quite made the grade. And now he's out there in Fiorentina banging the goals. And Ange kind of likes players with that kind of career trajectory where they've kind of had some setbacks but not given up in terms of reaching that top level. And he seems to be reaching it at the moment. So I think Ange will like him. If Richarlison leaves, again, I think that's one we can explore. But then Tell's here as well. So I'm just not sure if we're going to sign a striker in the summer. That's the thing.
Moise Kean, I mean, do you think this one that has Fabio's footprints on it or fingerprints on it because he came through the ranks at Juventus, didn't he? Then he got sold to Everton, and then a loan to PSG, and then Everton sold him back to Juventus. And then Juventus ended up sending him to Fiorentina. So Juventus clearly thought there was a player there if they signed him back. And Fabio was at the club when they brought him through at youth level. So do you reckon this one could be something that has a bit of his footprints over it?
I definitely know for sure Fabio will know him well. So I think if this deal is to be pursued in the summer, I'm sure Fabio will have a big part to play in it.
He'll end up going to AC Milan.
Yeah, for sure.
Builder reporting that Tottenham have no intention of making Timo Werner's loan permanent in the summer. Leipzig's sister club New York Red Bulls have been viewed as the perfect launching pad for the German forward.
Definitely, he needs to launch his career on MLS. I'm sure he'll do brilliant there. Linking up with is that New York Red Bulls? That's not Messi's team. No, it's Inter Miami.
Yeah.
Look, he's not going to be here beyond this season. Whatever happens, the loan's going to end. So I don't think we're going to see any more Timo Werner beyond this season.
We did say that at the end of last season as well, though.
No, but I think last season there was still we were saying we would prefer to get rid of him, but I don't think there was still a suggestion that he would stay. I think at this point it ain't going to happen. We're going to let him go. So wherever he goes at the end of the season doesn't really bother me, but it ain't going to be at Tottenham. The fact that he's been left out of the Europa League squad tells you all you need to know, I think.
Yeah, and the fact that he's getting linked with MLS clubs as well, at his age as well.
Well, the reality is he's now not been good since before he signed for Chelsea. That was in 2019. So 6 years really he's been out of form. His confidence has really been taking a battering over the last few years. And it's sad to see because I remember when he was at the Bundesliga originally, he was known as one of the best talents in Europe. He was so highly sought after and he was banging in the goals for fun. And
when we played Leipzig in the Champions League, that's when he was at the top of his game.
He was brilliant. And it's sad to see really a player with that kind of potential and who was at the top of his game really be a shadow of himself like he is. And it is sad, but the reality is Tottenham can't afford to keep waiting for him, and we need to do what's best for us, and what's best for us is to let him go, and that's what has to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And last but not least, let's talk about this report, two reports actually, regarding Son Heung-min. Not the most reliable sources, but Court Offside says that Al Hilal and Al Ittihad are very interested in bringing Tottenham captain Son Heung-min this summer. It is understood that both Saudi clubs would be willing to pay as much as 50 million euros to land Sonny this summer. Bleacher reports say that Tottenham are ready to sell Sonny in the summer and hope to replace him with Eberechi Eze. Do you think it's an actual possibility that Sonny leaves at the end of the season?
I do actually, to be honest. As hard as it is, I think I think there is a possibility if we get an offer like that, Tottenham will be interested because, look, at the end of the day, as good as he is 32, 33, going to be 33 in the summer, and when you get that kind of money for someone of his age, it's hard to ignore for a club like Tottenham, who obviously are trying to refresh the squad. Now, I think it's going to have to take a bid like that, otherwise it's not worth it for Tottenham to let him go. And I also think right now, he's not in great form, but if he shows good form between now and the end of the season, I think it's going to make it harder for Tottenham to want to let him go. And I really hope in these next few months he can show how good he still is. And to be fair, I think he's still got in goal contribution wise, he's getting close to 20 in all comps. He's still on, I think, getting close to 15 in the league. I think he's got like 7 goals, 7 assists. So he's
6 goals, 7 assists.
So he's still doing well, like numbers wise, and he's still providing something for the team. So it's not like I think we're desperate to get rid, but I think if that offer comes in, I think Tottenham will look at it. I really do think so, especially if this form continues. So I really hope he has a really good end to the season. He shows that he really has a part to play next season and what could potentially be his final year. And especially if we don't win the Europa League or anything, and I would hate to see him leave without a trophy here. So maybe if we win that Europa League, it maybe increases his chances of leaving. But I do think there is a chance he might leave in the summer, to be honest.
If we do win the Europa League this year, it is like kind of a fitting end for Sonny, isn't it? But, I mean, I just don't want to see him go. And I feel like if he was to go, you're looking at the squad for next season, there is a big void of like experience. I mean, you've got Ben Davies there, but without Sonny and Ben in the squad, like where's that experience really coming from?
Yeah, you need to sign it probably because there's no one's coming through that experience just yet. So look, I do think I'd rather keep him, even if we get a biggish offer. I'd rather keep him, but I wouldn't be surprised if the club look at that. As I'm saying, I think a lot kind of depends on his form between now and the end of the season. Because as Ange said when he was talking about Son mid-season, he said, you know, when the end comes and you start to when you start to kind of fall away, it does happen quite quickly. And Tottenham, I think, will be on guard for that. I don't think we've seen evidence that it might be happening, but I don't think it's conclusive yet because we've seen some really good games and maybe some games where he's off form. But that's, you know, happens with a lot of players. They can be off form. But I think a lot of kind of is riding on these next few months. If he shows he can still be on the top of his form, I think Tottenham will be like, okay, let's just keep him for another year. But if he carries on this poor form and there are real signs that he's actually diminishing quickly, then I think they'll probably look at that and think maybe we'll just take a good offer.
I wonder where Sonny's head is at with it all. Like, do you think he'd genuinely be interested in going to Saudi at this stage of his career?
Again, I think it depends on his form and himself. If he feels like he's not really performing at this level anymore, then maybe. And as I said, it happens quickly. But if he's like in these next few months, you know, really scoring lots of goals and he's really back at the top of his game and he feels like I've still got another maybe a couple of years left at this level, I don't think he will want to go to Saudi.
Because like even if he's not at the top of his game in the Premier League and let's say he does want to move on, like he could still go to another top league like in Italy, like in the Bundesliga or something like that and still have like a good few years there. Depends
who's interested in him.
Yeah.
Again, if he's in bad form, are top teams in Italy going to want him? That's a thing, or they're going to look to younger players. So because he's going to command a big wage packet, he's going to, you know, with all that stuff and he's worth it for sure. With definitely with a lot of the stuff that he brings with him, but. I think it depends on his form.
Top Italian clubs doing this all the time with the likes of Giroud and Dzeko and all this guy, and they still have like a good career there, where they're not doing well in the Premier League.
Yes, yeah, and maybe they'll look at someone and think, yeah, but those I do think people like Giroud and Dzeko are a bit different. They don't rely on pace as much as someone like Son does, and we know that once pace exits him, he still obviously can provide something. No doubt about it. He's still got quality, but is he as effective as he is without that pace? You know, there's big question marks there compared to someone like Dzeko and Giroud, where they've never really relied on pace. They can probably go until their late 30s and still perform at a good level. So I think it's maybe a bit different, but I think some Italian clubs will be interested, but whether it's the top ones where he'll want to be, I don't know.
Yeah, well, if Fabio goes there, there's no doubt he'll be at AC Milan next.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But will they want to pay a decent fee for him?
Yeah, that's another
They also go for free. They usually go to free.
If he goes to one of these clubs, it'll probably be a free transfer in 2 years' time.
Yeah.
Or, the end of next season. But, there was another thing that Lily White Rose put up saying apparently there could be a North London derby as a pre-season game in Hong Kong. So we were in Korea and we were in Japan and I was hearing from a few people that Hong Kong is going to be the next date for the next venue for pre-season. And there's basically some sort of advert with Arsenal and Spurs. It's all in different language, so I don't know what it actually says, but it says that apparently it says that there could be a North London derby in Hong Kong pre-season next year.
That's good stuff. I think we played North London derby in pre-season just before when Nuno was here.
Was it Nuno?
Yeah, it was Nuno.
It was Nuno. When Højbjerg squared up to Arteta.
That was it, and we ended up winning that obviously 1-0. So be a great curtain raiser in the pre-season. So good stuff.
All right, well, there you have it. That is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below all your thoughts regarding all the news stories we brought to you today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always,
Come on, you